I feel like I'm getting hammered.
Despite all the challenges Caitlin Clark has faced on the hardwood, nothing has frustrated her fans more than the blatantly inconsistent and questionable officiating. From clear no calls to unnecessary technical fouls, it's becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. Every time Clark steps on the court, fans rise in anticipation of her signature deep threes and dazzling assists. Yet, rather than simply focusing on her performance, she constantly has to watch her back, not just for defenders, but for referees seemingly ready to make the most questionable calls at the worst times. It's starting to feel less like competition and more like a targeted effort. Could there be something more going on? Crowds that once roared in excitement have begun turning their anger toward officials, booing baffling decisions. With 5:48 remaining and Indiana leading by 11, people are asking, are these just bad calls, or is a deeper bias being exposed? By the time we reach the 7th example, you'll be stunned at just how blatant this has become. Let's begin with one of the most jaw-dropping missed calls in recent memory, during the September 22 playoff clash between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun. We're counting down 10 of the most outrageous calls that left fans, commentators, and even players in disbelief. Just moments into the game, downright Carrington went after the ball and instead struck Clark square in the eye. The impact left Clark visibly dazed, struggling to regain her vision. Everyone waited for the whistle, only it never came. The tension in the arena spiked as spectators watched the league's most electric rookie stumble, disoriented. Still, there was no call. Carrington's relentless defense continued, leading to a collision with Aaliyah Boston. The crowd exploded, expecting at least a foul, if not a flagrant. But the refs stood silent, allowing play to continue like nothing had happened. Clark, clearly shaken, couldn't find her rhythm in the first half, going just 1 for 9 from the field and missing all 6 of her attempts from deep. A dark bruise formed under her eye, a literal mark of the physicality she endured without any protection. This wasn't a one-off. It was a turning point that made fans question whether Clark was being deliberately targeted. Was this simply playoff intensity, or something else entirely? It became clear that Clark wasn't going to get the benefit of the doubt like a typical superstar. In fact, she appeared to be receiving some of the most egregious non-calls in the league. Fans quickly flooded social media, demanding answers. One called it the worst officiated game of all time, while another labeled it a total embarrassment. But amid the outrage, Clark never wavered. She kept her composure and continued to compete. Take for instance the moment Marina Mabrey bodied Clark as she made her first postseason basket. Clark fought through contact to finish, but the referees once again turned a blind eye. Even the broadcasters couldn't ignore how physical it had become, highlighting the obvious fouls being ignored. Shoves, bumps, and hits continued unchecked. There were no whistles, no protection, just an expectation that Clark had to endure it. And she did. She found new ways to contribute, proving yet again why she's one of the toughest competitors in the game. But the concern isn't isolated to a single matchup. This is a broader problem where officiating is actively influencing outcomes and putting players at risk. Fast forward to August 28, when Clark once again became the target of excessive contact, this time against the Connecticut Sun. Everything looked routine until Alyssa Thomas delivered a brutal shoulder check that sent Clark to the floor. The crowd was stunned, gasping at the sheer force of the hit. Yet the officials brushed it off as a common foul. The audience was outraged. This wasn't basketball, it was a cheap shot. Observers called it a flagrant foul without hesitation. One fan labeled it a blatant shoulder lean-in, while another described it as reckless and dangerous. Yet again, Caitlin Clark showed her grit. She got up, went right back to work, and continued to lead her team. But just when it seemed she'd seen it all, a new controversy emerged, this time during a timeout. Imagine this, a fired-up rookie energizing the crowd, and a veteran player suddenly steps in and delivers a blatant shove. What did the referees do? Absolutely nothing. In the August 18 game against the Seattle Storm, Clark stood near the opposing bench, rallying the home crowd in the intense closing moments. Out of nowhere, Skylar Diggins-Smith approached her and threw a shoulder check, knocking her aside. The arena's energy quickly turned to outrage. Fans were stunned, another unprovoked act of aggression completely ignored by officials. No warning. No foul. Just silence. This instantly reignited discussions about fairness and sportsmanship. Social media lit up with people asking why some players get away with obvious aggression while Clark seems to get penalized for everything. Clips circulated showing Diggin Smith's shove, and users contrasted it with how quickly Clark herself is disciplined for the smallest gestures. That same night, another moment stoked the flames. With 7:14 remaining in the third quarter, Clark missed a three and, in frustration, tapped the padding of the backboard. Within seconds, a technical foul was issued. The call sent shockwaves through the arena. Was this really unsportsmanlike, or just an athlete reacting in the heat of the moment? The debate spread rapidly. Clark later explained that she was simply frustrated with herself, not trying to disrespect the game. "I got a tech for missing a three and lightly hitting the padding. He told me that was disrespectful to basketball," she said. But she didn't let it derail her. Instead, she channeled that emotion into even more focused play. "Honestly, I think it made me go harder," she added. "It probably helped us in the end." Where others might have cracked, Clark responded the only way she knows, by letting her game do the talking.